Hi, you're listening to Oops Spoilers, the entertainment podcast where we talk all things story. I'm your host Elise, and this is my friend Mallory, so the one who birthed it all. We are talking today about Stephanie Meyer's Once Upon a Broken Heart. Now, Mallory, did you
Stephanie
want to...
Garber.
Yeah, true, I said Stephanie Meyer, not
Yeah,
Stephanie
yeah.
Meyer.
Not Stephanie Myers, no.
This is not Twilight, folks. This is Stephanie Garber. You know, our girl, our favorite.
My favorite.
Did you want to talk specifically about Once Upon a Broken Heart, the book, or were you going to kind of talk about the series, like your overall? I don't know
think
what
we should probably do the series over. Well, let's just do the first book, and then maybe one day we'll come back and do the others. Maybe let's do the first book to get people to actually read it. Like, I want everyone to read this story. It is truly, like, I can't wait to discuss it.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Cool. Well, I will go ahead and read the synopsis then for our first book. And then just for the listener, this is Oops Spoilers, so we do get down into the weeds. We will be spoiling. We'll give you a heads up before we start the spoilers with a little spoilers moment, but just be prepared also that there may be other elements of the other books that leak into this discussion. We'll be focusing on book one. Let me find my synopsis. So it says, how far would you go for happily ever after? For as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in true love and happy endings until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding and to heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses to be given at the time and place of his choosing. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is a dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants far more from her than she pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. So there you go. So,
yeah.
Mal, do you have like overall thoughts you want to start with, or do you want to jump into my discussion questions though?
Let's do overall thoughts really quick. And before I do that, I want to say, everyone, I'll try to be overall thoughts as least spoilery as possible, but just a heads up. And then after my overall thoughts, we're going to really be in an ooh spoilers moment. Overall thoughts. The first book I was just kind of like, the very, very beginning, I was like, okay, this is going to be such a stereotype. Elise recommended another love story to me. I just don't want to read a love story. Oh my gosh. So the first, I'll say like 30 minutes, I was just kind of like, let me push through. And then after that, I was like, oh, this is different. This is a different love story. This is a different tale in general. And I mean, the first book really hooked me in. Let me go to my Goodreads to tell you how quickly I went through this. And I regret going through this so quickly because it's just so good and I'm so sad, but like, I just couldn't stop. I was a fiend. Like, I had to keep reading. Okay. So Once Upon a Time, wow. The first book, I started in February 5th in the morning and finished it at night. I would still remember at night in my bed on February 6th. So I listened to it like in 2 days. The second book was February 9th through February 12th. And then the third book was February 11th through February 14th. The only reason these other two took so long is I think it was like a weekend was one of them. And it was my dad's birthday. And then I can't remember why the third one took us up. But like, I was like trying to pull it out, but I couldn't. Like, it was just so good. And on the last one, I had a pop-up for my jewelry store, and I was literally, while I was waiting for people to come in, I was like listening to it because I needed to finish it. Like, that's how good this was. So that's just giving you like a little taste of like how much I personally love this series. And one thing I'm gonna say, this hopefully isn't a spoiler. Hopefully this is an encouragement. I've talked to Elise about this. I feel like I said this one, Those Are the Girls too. I have loved, before this series, my favorite series was The Cruel Prince. And I still really, really like The Cruel Prince series. I think, what's it called? Folk in the Air or something like that. I really, really like it. Like, I'm going to buy the game eventually, like, obsessed. Jude, fantastic protagonist. I wouldn't say that I related to her at all. I wouldn't say that I didn't dislike her, but I didn't like love her either. I guess she made decisions that I probably wouldn't have made, and X, Y, and like, we're just not, she's much stronger, braver than I probably could ever be, right? And pretty much every other book, female main character that I read, I just have not really liked. Like, I didn't hate her except for Violet, but all the other ones I just simply did not like. But Evangeline, I loved her. I loved her so much. And I remember reading a comment on one of the, you know, people make fan stuff now. And I was reading a comment on one of the reels and someone was like, you know, Evangeline was nice or whatever, but like every single decision she made, like I was like, terrible decision. And in my head, I was like, wow, every decision she made, I was like, I probably would have done the same thing. So it's just so funny, like how people just have just, I guess, how people are just different. And what I really liked about Evangeline is just like her, I guess, naivete, however you say it.
This is actually one of our discussion questions.
Okay, maybe I should say no more. Okay.
Well,
maybe I should say no more. It's just so good. Okay.
I want to talk about Evangeline's character and what you thought about how she kind of starts from super impulsive decisions at the beginning and then like later kind of maybe is more like she thinks a little bit harder about things.
Okay, so all that to say, you guys, I loved it. Evangeline is like my favorite main character. She's just so great. And then Jax, just how it all ends. Obviously, you know, this isn't a spoiler. If you've ever read a story in your life, will know that she's going to end up with Jax. But like, it's just a matter of like how it happens. It's just like nothing you've ever like read, at least for me. This was all new to me. Anyway, it's great. The next part is going to be spoilers. So if you heard that and you're like, you know what, I gotta read this book, I'd go ahead and head off, go to Libby, go ahead and get that book, and then because now we're about to be spoiling it. Okay, let's go.
Oops, spoilers. So maybe let's start with that question then.
Okay.
Evangeline's character arc, maybe, and if you could give some examples too of like maybe a decision she makes in the beginning that's like super, you know, like is super impulsive or whatever, like exhibits the, you know, the growth journey that she needs to go on, and then by the end, maybe how do you think her worldview is more balanced with like reality?
Okay, so I think about the decision. Okay, so first of all, she goes to the thing and makes a deal with Jack. Very impulsive. But something else I also think about is when she sees that she made the mistake and Luke and her evil stepsister, I forgot her name, when she sees Marisol.
Yeah.
Marisol. She sees that Luke and Marisol are turned to stone and she's like, you know what? I need to make this right. I thought that was like, to me, that's such a brave decision. That's the right thing to do. Now, drinking something that says don't drink me, you know, that's what.
Now, hang on. Let's put a pin in it for 1 second, because if people haven't read and they want the spoilers, this isn't going to make sense. So, right. Like, when you say in the beginning she makes a deal with Jax, what is she trying to do to make the deal? Like, what is that to accomplish?
Good question. Yeah. So, okay. So at the beginning, she goes to his, like, I guess, temple or whatever you would say that's dedicated to him because she wants to make a deal with Jax because Jax is the King of Hearts. And if you make a deal with Jax, he can help you bring your true love or something along those lines.
And she wants to make a deal with him because the love of her life, this guy that she's been infatuated with, is marrying somebody else, right?
Yes, is marrying someone else who is actually her sister. And she just cannot believe it's happening. She's like so hurt or whatever. So she's like, I have to go. He's the love of my life. He loves me. I love him. So she's like, I have to go fix this. So she goes and she meets up with this guy. And turns out it's the King of Hearts himself. So he says he'll fix it, and then he says, well, I just need three promises from you. Like, you're gonna have to do 3 things for me.
3 kisses, right?
3 kisses, you're right. And he puts, like, broken heart scars on her arm, which become, like, a theme throughout the first book. So he puts the broken heart scars on her arm, so every time it, like, glows, she's about to do something. So anyway, so he does that, and then she's like, okay, it's fixed. And she goes and runs to go find her lover, Luke, and Luke is turned to stone. And we also find out that Luke was actually marrying her stepsister, which is like, whoa. So then she feels bad about it. She's like, I have to do the right thing. And the right thing would be to fix it. Well, there's a thing that says do not drink. And I can't remember the specifics why, but like she decides like that's what's going to fix it. And she drinks it and she becomes stoned. And they are unstoned, so it does fix it, but it's like, okay, girly, that's really impulsive. And then toward the end, it feels like she's a little bit more, like, taking, I'll say toward the very, very end of the book, except for like the very last decision she makes. But I guess at the end of the book, I think she does become get a little bit more reality when she's dealing with her sister, and when she's dealing with when she like wakes up to like at the end of the book, spoilers, it seems like Jack betrayed her. So I feel like at the beginning of the book, I'm sorry, at the end of the book, she gets a little bit more level headed, like, okay, this is my husband, I need to figure out how to help my husband type of thing. She ends up marrying the one of the
Prince of Hearts.
Prince, no, at the end of first book, the Prince of the North or something like that.
Right. I know. I think he's the prince at the beginning, and then by the end, he's like getting ready to be crowned.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, the whole Prince King thing. But you guys know what I'm trying to say. He's like the prince, and she ends up marrying him, and chaos ensues. But anyway, that is characterization. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that you summarized it super well. Do you think that her optimism in the books is a strength or a fatal flaw? Because I think, like, when you're talking about the potion that she drinks at the beginning, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think that there's like a poem or something that essentially says, like, you drink this, like, you take their place. And so she, like, makes the decision to drink this potion in order to save Luke and her stepsister, but because she's like, somebody will save me. I think it's like,
oh my god,
even, like, insinuate that, like, true love will save you.
That's and super important. Like,
yeah.
Yes.
So she's like optimistically thinking somebody's gonna save me, you know, like, even though clearly Luke has been playing with her feelings this whole time, does not care about her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, that's your take. Okay.
I think so. I mean, again, it's been a minute. Valerie's read this much more recently than I have, but I feel like I remember her being like, I'm doing this for love. So, like, somebody for love is gonna do the same thing for me.
Yes.
And it's like, maybe not always, girl. Like, you should, you know, like, if you're gonna make a risky decision, you have to make a risky decision understanding that there is a chance that you lose, you know?
Yes, like, oh my god, I cannot believe I forgot that like, aspect of it.
Yeah.
No, you're so right. And the concept of I'm sacrificing, so someone I love is going to also sacrifice for me, that is kind of naive. That's putting your heart out there. And you said, what did I think her naivety was? What?
Her optimism, is that like, is that her strength, or is that like, oh girl, you're too optimistic, you know?
Good question. Okay, so I think optimism is a strength. I think optimism is a strength. And I will say, the thing that was really cool about Evangeline, even though, you know, even though she wasn't rescued by the person who she thought loved her, she was rescued. And even in every situation, homegirl gets out of it. Even if it's like terrible and it's not who she thought would get her out of it, she gets out of it. So I think optimism is a good thing if you can have it, if you can, with this hard, harsh world out there. If you can still have optimism, I think it's a positive.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like, again, it's being optimistic, like, hoping for the best. But I think throughout the book, you realize, like, you see the way that things just don't work out the way that she had hoped. You know, like, her dream, her rose-colored glasses had her thinking that she was going to end up with, you know, her childhood love or whatever, and, like, everything was going to work out just the way it would in, like, a fairy tale. And then she realizes, like, well, sometimes, you know, like, the people that you think are one way end up being another, and, like, you do get betrayed and you do get hurt, but you can still make, like, brave decisions. You can still risk yourself and put yourself on the line, and those things are actually, like, way more noble, and, like, you gain a lot more, it costs you a lot more if you are aware of, like, there is a chance that this costs me everything and I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, that actually is so much stronger of a moral place to stand, you know, rather than like, I'm gonna do this good thing because I think somebody will do a good thing back or whatever. Because I think it'll gain me something. Like, it's like, all right, like, that's in the Bible too, you know, like, all right, you do something nice for somebody who's also nice to you. It's like, does that really give you the moral high ground with anything, versus like, oh, you do something kind or self-sacrificial for somebody that wouldn't look at you twice, you know, like, okay, that actually, like, now you have some skin in the game, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of the series too, is like her just realizing, like, hey, you know, like, there's gonna be a cost at some point. I'm gonna have to pay something.
Yeah.
And then,
I think, sorry, really quick, I think it's also, actually, never mind. It'll probably come up later. I'll mention it. Sorry, go ahead.
So towards the end, I want of like her journey, is there a point where she like makes a decision that you can think of where she like takes that risk, like specifically that we can point to, like, okay, she makes a decision that's like sacrificing herself and realizing that like she might, you know what I'm saying, like she might
Yeah.
not be rescued, where like her optimism kind of is like leveled out by reality at all? Can you think of a point where that happens?
Not really. Not in the
Part of
first
what I'm
book.
trying to remember is like eventually, and this might be later in the series, it comes out that there's like essentially this prophecy about like Jax, and there's like this story of like the archer and the fox, and basically it like turns out that she's been doomed from the start to like he's gonna kill her, is like kind of the deal. And she kind of makes the decision to like I'm still gonna love you, I'm still gonna be with you, right? Like even if I
Yeah, so that's like in the last book. Like, yeah, okay, so I guess you could say that. So in the last book, oops, spoilers, oops, spoilers. Yeah, seriously, if you just read the first book, like fast forward real quick. In the last book, when she, okay, specific, okay, so it's toward the end. Jack is going to blow up the tree, and the crazy girl that was one of the dead people that's now alive, she put the curse on Jax, and everybody thinks that if he kisses his true love, then she won't die. But it's if Jack kisses someone and he loves them, that they will die. So she knows that Jack loves her, and she's like, I don't care, let's just kiss. So then she kisses him. And then obviously, you know, they live happily ever after. Maybe a new book is coming out in the end of the year.
mm,
But I don't know if you knew that.
yes.
But yeah, so I think that was kind of like a risk. Because she knew Jack loved her. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think they really explain like why the spell didn't work. But that's okay, who cares?
I think
Um
it's is I thought it was only his true love can survive his kiss, and she knows that he's been in love, like he's had a true love who survived his kiss.
no, because
Okay.
the girl, so remember that family that was in the library arch.
Yeah, but remember
So
these are people who haven't they don't have no idea what we're talking about. So we have to explain the significance
yes.
of what we're talking about.
So the family, so there is a family that kind of created all the magic in the north. They were locked in an arch.
Mhm.
In the last book, they are released from the arch, and
Right.
the youngest daughter had a crush on Jax, and Jax
Yes.
didn't love her, so she put the spell on Jax. And the tale is, if Jax, his true love, whoever kisses him, his true love, she won't die. That's what everybody was told. But
Right. Okay.
she made everybody think that. But the truth was, she wanted Jax to kiss her, and
Oh.
Jax would never love her, so he would think that she was his true love. And she wouldn't die. So the thing was, if Jax kissed someone he didn't love, they would die.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, that didn't love him and he didn't love her, they would die.
Mhm.
And then she ends up kissing. So then Evangeline's like, well, we love each other. I don't care. I'm going to kiss you at the very end. And I think that was a risky decision that was made.
Mhm. Okay.
I
Gotcha.
think that's the only thing I can really think of.
Yeah, so she kisses him like at risk to herself
Yeah.
because it because of whatever reason, and like but not thinking that like, oh, somehow this is going to all work out and the magic is going to come, you know, like somehow I'm going to survive this. It's
I
like
think she's hoping that she'll survive, but I don't think, if I remember correctly, I don't think she was like, this is what he needs this, like it'll make him like feel less alone or something like that, and I'm just
yeah,
gonna do it. Like
it was for
it
him, it
really
wasn't
was
for her.
right. Like she was hoping it would work, but it really was sacrificial. Like she is
Yeah.
supposed to die, and you know what, whatever. And he hadn't said he loved her, I don't think, at that point. So she really
Mhm.
didn't know. Like it's a nice thought. Like, I mean, who amongst
Yeah.
us has thought someone loved us and they didn't? So like
Mhm.
it was a nice thought. So he really could not have loved her. But
Yeah.
she took that risk.
Yeah. And I think also I'm like googling it to see, you know, what other people have had to say about this. And essentially a part of it comes down to like um she believed that like true love could overpower even like could overpower was the strongest kind of magic, and like overpowered, the curse or the spell or whatever was like doomed to them. So she was like, yeah, she made a decision because she loved Jax and like whatever. Not really, he hadn't said it, she didn't know what he was thinking, but she was like, I believe that my love for him is strong enough to like overcome this curse. And so like I'm going to take the risk, you know, and I'm going to do this for him, you know, and like if it works out, then that's, you know, then that's everything I've ever hoped and dreamed. But if not, like at least I tried, you know, like
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a super special characteristic that she has, because it takes a lot to get a character to risk, you know, like to risk everything for somebody, especially if they know that there's not necessarily like he was gonna survive regardless, you know, like
Yeah.
pretty much. So she jumped in the deep end, you know, to kind of pull him out of that.
And even in my like weird season I'm going in with like love or whatever, I really liked that. As corny and cheesy as I did like that like conclusion, because a lot of times when we're reading fantasy nowadays, actually the conclusion is she stabs him in the heart and then he evaporates and then her true love comes limping in and she's like, I saved you. But I liked that her sacrifice, what she had to do was just like a kiss. And the way it was written made it seem as just as strong and brave as if she stabbed him in the heart, which I really like.
Drama.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you think that Jax as a character, because we've talked a lot about Evangeline, do you think that Jax was manipulating Evangeline like from the beginning, or did his feelings for her change over time? You know, like what do you think his journey kind of was throughout this book?
It's definitely, I actually saw a tweet that was like the enemies to lovers, like their favorite version of enemies to lovers. And it's definitely one of those enemies to lovers where like he changes for her type of thing. I think that initially he was just like, oh, she's just a means to an end, because I think he truly did want to still get back to the other girl from the other book, but who he thought was his true love. But I do think that after a while he realized like, wow, I love her. Like I like her personality. She's beautiful. I like spending time with her. She's strong. She's brave. And I think that is, she's kind and she's always trying to put other people first. I think that is what, and she made him be a better version of himself too. And I think over time he started to love. But yeah, at the beginning he was definitely manipulative, like definitely like not a good guy, like and liar, all the words.
Bad. But he comes back. He really
does come. Yeah.
He really do recover. So the last question before we get into the scores, and I want to like also, because a lot of people will probably know Stephanie Garber, not Meyer, from the Caraval series, because that's been out for a lot longer and has been super popular. If you're listening because you are interested in Stephanie Garber but you haven't gotten into this new series Once Upon a Broken Heart, or you know because you just enjoy it and you just want to hear us yap about it, I feel like the tone is different in that like Caraval kind of has like a darker, like richer, like if I think of like color schemes, I feel like Caraval is like a scarlet, like a deep velvet, lush, you know, like it's very like it's a nighttime book, you know, like it's very night and starlight and like curtains and mirrors and mist and like kind of, you know, like it's big. If you're into like The Greatest Showman or like theatrics, like Phantom of the Opera, I feel like Caraval is kind of that vibe of like very showmanship and very like, you know, not everything is as it appears, which appears in Once Upon a Broken Heart, but it's just a different like it's a different element of that because the setting is different and because Evangeline is different. So it has those elements still, but it's the shade of it is a little bit like darker and more like, ooh, you know, like mystery magic kind of vibe versus like, I feel like Once Upon a Broken Heart is like it's a light pink book, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like it's very like fairy tale, like classic woodland fairy tale, you know, like you're in a wooded glen and the sunlight is leaking through the leaves and the dust is like little drops of fairy magic on the air. There are definitely some like dark moments and it's definitely high stakes. So it's not like fluffy and boring and nothing is happening, but it is just much more of like leaning into like it's like a morning book. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
light aesthetically and like very hopeful and like optimistic and very like flowers blooming, and these are like the things that
Yeah.
I think of when I think of this story, just like aesthetically. So if that's interesting to anyone out there at all, there's that. But our
Um,
final question.
I
Oh
want to
yeah.
say one more thing too
No, you're
about
good.
what you said. When I think of that, I think of it is nothing like this movie, but the aesthetics are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Midsomber, how you go into Midsomber, it's all filmed pretty much during the day. It's in a very nice. I think they're in Norway, so it's like a nice Norwegian town, and it's outside, and people are wearing like flower crowns, and it's just so
Mm-hmm.
light and sweet, and like and then like the story is much darker in Midsomber, but the story is doesn't it matches the tone, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, it's just not this. It's not what you're thinking it's going to be. I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, there's a theme throughout the book that we kind of mentioned earlier of like fate and prophecies and like
Mm.
this is like what's foretold essentially, so like you have to like that's what's gonna happen kind of. And so I think there are various characters like throughout the story that either like kind of just accept that fate of like whatever their prophecy is or whatever has been like passed down, and then there are characters that fight more against it. So like I don't know if that rings true for you, or you can kind of think of like how you saw that as you were reading, but it's an interesting like discussion question that I found online, so I thought I would ask.
Yeah, I the idea of like fate is just very interesting in general as a writer myself. I think about that a lot, especially like in telling stories, because and then as a Christian, we don't necessarily believe in like fate, but we do believe in God's providence. And then free will versus fate to me is almost like a free will versus God's providence, in the sense of like sometimes you just can't change things. This
Mm-hmm.
is just how it is. And I think about that a lot, and I definitely think that is probably the biggest or one of the biggest themes throughout the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that especially in the first book, I will say in the first book, I feel like it is more of like you can't help fate. Like this is how actually I'm saying fate, but the more I think about it, it wasn't even really fate. It was just Jack's moving pieces. He was the fate. Oh my
Which he is
gosh.
a fake.
Guys, that I solved the book. So he was the fate. And he is a fate. That's what they call the gods,
Yeah.
I guess, in the book. We're Evangeline, the people of the city. Everybody's thinking like, wow, this is how it's supposed to go. But really, Jax was like, okay, I need her to do this. Okay, I'm gonna manipulate her and have her do this. So then that's how it ends. Like he has created it. So I mean, what was the question?
I was gonna just like different ways that you see the different characters like interacting with their fate. Like,
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I feel like
like
I explained my thoughts on that.
yeah.
Yeah, like it's just Evangeline was just going along and like, okay, this is fate. This is what's supposed to happen. I'm supposed
Mm-hmm.
to fall in love. I'm supposed to do this. Da da da. Da. So she's just going along with it and she's thinking it's fate, but it's really Jax moving things along. Oh my god! Like I could not
You
get
just
over
blew your
that.
own mind.
I just blew my own mind. It's literally Jax is the fate. Wow. I
Oh
wonder if
my
that's what she
goodness.
wanted. Someone send this to Stephanie.
Well, and also by the end, what we were talking about, like the beginning is Evangeline being like, well, this is magic, this is fate, this is the prophecy, like whatever, that's how it is. And then by the end, she's like, I know what the prophecy says, like, or what she
Yeah,
believes the prophecy says. And so she's like, okay, like,
I'm just
but
gonna do it.
I'm gonna try to make my own fate, like if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, then, I've made my choice and I'm happy with my choice, but like, I'm gonna see if I can overpower fate, and
Yeah.
so she becomes fate by the end.
Yeah, and I wonder if she does become a fate. Like, does she get and then,
I
this is
guess we'll
just me
find out when
always.
the new book comes out. Everybody
Yeah.
stay tuned.
And I'm
Stay
always like
posted.
the person who probably like overthinks this, but like if he is going to live forever, she's going to
Mm-hmm.
age. So he wouldn't need to do something to make sure she lives forever too, if they're going to
Yeah.
be together forever. So like, I don't know. Anyway, it's not Stephanie, just something to think about if you haven't considered that. But yeah.
There's a scene where they go to like a magic glen, which is where Jax grew up essentially. And that's outside of time, right? Isn't it like the clocks
Um
are kind of stopped there, like They
Oh
have.
yeah, I think it is outside of time, but I don't think they can live there forever. I mean,
I was gonna say maybe they just moved there. I don't
yeah,
know,
I
but we'll
guess,
see.
but can you move your friends and family? Just the two of you can't live there. I don't know.
Just go
I've never been
visit.
in love. Maybe
You just
like,
go visit.
yeah, I
Yeah,
guess so. Maybe when
we'll
you're in
see.
love, you can be with the same person forever and ever like that. But I would need like other people to be around at some point. I need a job. Like, I
Yeah,
need to have a task. But
things have to be
anyway,
happening. Understand.
yeah,
All right, cool. Well, let's get into the score.
yes,
What do you have for, let me pull up the rubric so I
same.
have it in front of you, in front of you, in front of me, in front of us. All right. So, number one on our scoring system here is talking about the plot. So, if you have a number that you want to give for that, what did you think about the plot?
I want to say 5. So we do 5-1, everyone. I want to say 5. Excellent, unique, tight pacing, strong twist, 0 plot holes. But I really have a hard time giving anything 5s. But
Is
I
today
mean,
the day?
it's just how I feel. Like, I feel like it's a 5. I feel like it was unique. It was tight pacing. I mean, I zoomed through it. I love a book you can zoom through. Another reason not
Mm-hmm.
to always bash Fourth Wing, but I couldn't zoom through that. I love a book you can zoom through. So,
Yeah.
and I can't think of any plot holes, honestly. I'm sure, if you have a hammer, everything's like a nail, you could probably find one, but I can't really think
Yeah.
of any glaring plot holes. I mean, they even, to where the end, it talked about like how, oops, spoilers, how Marisol used magic. So it kept going back and forth. Was she using magic and like kind of sabotaging Evangeline and jealous of Evangeline? It kept going back and forth in that. And then toward then we find out, yeah, she actually used magic to get Luke to fall in love with her. She was using magic to kind of sabotage things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was good. Another comparison to the Cruel Prince. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5. I can't think of any
Wow.
minor issues even.
Perfect. We love to see it. All right, so entertainment value. I feel like you kind of addressed this when you said you zoomed through it,
5, absolutely. Addicting, emotional, binge worthy.
Perfect.
Definitely entertaining.
All right, themes and depth. So, any hard-hitting issues, anything spiritual or moral that you feel like it talked about well or not well?
I think for themes and depth, I would still say it was 4. I wouldn't give it 5. Good messaging, thoughtful moments. I think the idea, like we said earlier, about the concept of like fate is really good. I think that's, once again, as a Christian, that is something that I just think about often. I think it's something that, like, yeah, I think the message and the idea of fate, and then also the idea of optimism, like, especially younger me, 110%, like, was always positive, like, okay, we're gonna figure this out, like making decisions based on that. And I really like that. I think that was good.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, spice level. Let's see. And here at Oops Spoilers, we do our spice a little bit differently because we are coming at this as girls of faith, and so we know that spice is something that can burn you. So we want to be super careful with how we approach that, and we want to present this to you as a level that you can decide how comfortable you are with it, because spice is not for everybody. And so, what do you think the spice level was for this book?
I think it was completely clean. So I'm pretty sure this, okay, so something, um and wow, okay, this is the highest score, because also language, I think it was completely clean too. I think this is the highest score I've ever given, other than maybe the Hunger Games book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say this. So spice level 5, clean 5. So what I'm gonna say too about this is, I think it's considered YA, and I don't want that to deter you, like, oh my god, it's going to be like such basic, simple writing. It's considered YA, I think, just because it is clean. It doesn't have any, like, real spice. It doesn't have any language that I can think of. Actually, language 4.5 because I feel like there might have been a curse word. I just can't remember. But the point is though, like I think that's why it's considered YA. And I want to encourage you like not to, when you find books that are YA, especially if you're trying to, be at least a little less modest with your reading. You guys know what I'm trying to say. I would encourage you to still consider things that are considered YA. And it means that this would be a good book to read with your daughters. Like I'm so excited to read this with my friends' kids one day and like have a like tea party and stuff where we talk about it. Like it's gonna be good.
So fun.
Yeah.
So that score comes out to a 4.7 overall.
Oh wow.
So, this is a good one, guys. If you're looking for especially a good spring read. As we transition into a warm time of year, things are blooming, there's new life, there's joy. It's like this is the thing that's gonna like tether you a little bit, it's got enough reality checks to keep you like engaged in like reality, but it's beautiful, it's fantasy, it's hopeful and dreamy and just perfect spring read, I think I must say. So
yeah.
Any final thoughts, Mel? Any other, little teasers you want to drop for the people?
I guess to wrap up Once Upon a Broken Heart, book 1, and eventually we'll do other books too. I think to wrap it up, I want to say that I feel like I should say something. I can't think of anything specifically. I just really liked that it was a light read. When I was talking to someone on Instagram about it who was also reading it, like an Instagram friend, she was saying how like it's just something different about this book than other fantasy. She doesn't dislike it. It's just like something's different. And I really like that. So if you're looking for something like a little different, that's not going to be dark, that's not going to... So the very, very, very first book we read for the book club that we're in, you weren't in it yet, but it was called Crowns of Nyaxia, the first book, something wings, darkness, serpents, right?
A Court of Wings, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's one of those books, okay? It's love, not dissing the book or the genre, but like it's just copy paste pretty much all those books.
Yeah.
And one of the things I loved the book. It was really good. One of the things though that I distinctly remember is like I was feeling so anxious. Like I was like, oh my God, she has got to win this. Like I am so stressed out. How do we get this girl from point A to point B? How does she protect herself? Like I'm over here like, what are we doing? I have to get to the part where she is successful. And I did not feel that way reading the book. Though there were moments where it's like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get out of this quandary? I just didn't feel like this like, oh my God, like is she gonna be okay? Like I remember after I read that, I was like, I need a break from fantasy. Like, because that was really the first like adult fantasy that I had ever read. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are reading this all the time? Like, I am so stressed. How is she going to win this competition? And she has to win and someone else has to win. Like, and if she doesn't win, that means she like, I'm thinking all these things. So anyway, this is like a refreshing book. It still is intense. It still has high stakes. It's still really good. Like I said, I zoomed through it. But I will say I wasn't left like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So yeah, that's it.
So there you go. If you're looking for something that's gonna not jack your nervous system up to a 10, check out Once Upon a Broken Heart. Let us know if you love it. And, we'll eventually, like Mel said, we'll get to the rest of the books in the series. But for right now, oops, spoilers. Bye, y'all.
Good night or good evening.